What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Cam ATL, and welcome back to another first look lineup video. Man, week 6 was once again a fantastic week. That's 3 weekends in a row we have dominated over at greenlightdfs.com. Join the squad, try out the optimizer that we have on there. A lot of time and effort gets put into the optimizer to make sure that it's accurate for people who want to enter like 5 or more lines. The lineup optimizer is great, can spit that out for you really, really quickly, and you can get going. All right, now week 7 is an exciting one, man, because just looking over this slate for the first look, I'm liking a lot of matchups here. A lot of matchups just look incredibly juicy here, and it was pretty honestly, the gut was really easy to get on this first look lineup. Like this first look lineup came together. There's some weeks where it takes me longer to kind of put a first look together because matchups just aren't as great, and there's some weeks where it just comes together perfectly. And normally those weeks are the huge weeks that we have. So I'm super excited for week 7. I think it's going to be a huge one for us. Very good slate. A lot of different ways to go, but some really good ways to go. And yeah, so I'm not going to waste too much of your time. Drop a like down below. Comment down below who you think is going to be the highest scoring player in week 7 and their point total next to it. And I will be choosing one of you. Go ahead and comment your guess in this video, and then you can comment again in the final look. As you guys know, I do this first look lineup. We talk about the guys we're putting in the lineup, kind of a gut feel for the beginning of the week, and then the final look on Friday that I post kind of goes position by position and breaks it down. We talked about Derrick Henry a lot last week, and he ended up being an absolute monster, and he ended up being the highest scoring player on DraftKings. Now, I had somebody comment under the first look video and was very, very close to his point total. Instead of the $100, I'm going to give that person $50. Let's see if I can find that name real quick. I didn't pull the name up before I started this video. But the name of the guy who got that really, really close is going to be... Let me pull that up. It's funny, I still have people guessing. As of, like, I still have people throwing it out there right now. Even though the slate's over, and you should already know who the highest scorer is. Anyways, you know who you are. You hit me up on YouTube. We had a guy get within a point. He didn't get the exact point total. Normally, I'm gonna go with the exact point total, but because he got so close and it was such a big week for us, I'm going to choose him. So the guy who guessed Derrick Henry in the final look video, or the first look video for last week, make sure you DM me on Twitter at Cam_ATL and I'll hook you up. Let's do it again. Comment down below who you think is going to be the highest scorer in their point total. Let's get straight into this. Now, starting off at quarterback, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, like watching that game, that Dallas game last night, one thing stuck out to me. I knew Kyler Murray was fast, but there were certain points where I thought I accidentally like hit fast forward on my remote. You know what I mean? Like he was moving so quick at some points. I was like, shit. Like, I went to, like, hurry and grab my remote to try to, play because I thought I was fast forwarding somehow. Like, it was ridiculous. Now, this dude gives you a solid floor on his feet. He's been doing it all season long. His lowest DraftKings points total. Why am I on running back? Oh, because I'm going to it next. His lowest DraftKings score was 24 this season. That's been his lowest. Now he gets to go against Seattle, one of the worst secondaries in the entire league, and Seattle's offense is really, really good and is going to put points up in a hurry and often against Arizona here. The game is being played in a dome. There is literally no flaws here. Kyler Murray, my gut jumped on him immediately. Kyler Murray against Seattle. This is a team that gave up almost 27 to Ryan Fitzpatrick, gave up 34 to Dak, 39 to Cam Newton, 28 to Matt Ryan. Like, come on, man. Kyler Murray's in a fantastic spot. I'm excited to play him. Now, because I'm talking about him, hey, look, I'm putting D-Hop with him because the upside for Kyler Murray is ridiculous in this one. I would not be surprised to see 35 or more out of him. And what in turn does that mean? That means DeAndre Hopkins probably going to go off. He had a down game against Dallas last night, which was a huge shocker. He still got targeted 8 times, but only got 2 catches for 73 yards. Now, This matchup is the juiciest matchup you can have. Now, Dallas is a great matchup, and the fact he only got 9 tells me he's probably going to explode from one of his huge games, probably like a 30 plus like he did against San Francisco week 1. So I'm predicting that Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins both score over 30 DraftKings points here and give you over 60 DraftKings points just between those two. All right, I absolutely love Kyler Murray paired with D Hop this week, man, and I'm going to have a ton of that. Sexy. There's other options I love as well, but we'll get into that in the final look video later on this week. Next up, Aaron Jones going against Houston. I have a motto that I live by and I've been living by all season. Start running backs against Houston. Houston just gave up 44 almost to Derrick Henry. Now, I talked about him multiple times last week. I talked about him briefly in the first look. I talked about him in the final look. Like, look, Aaron Jones going against Houston is a spot where he could absolutely destroy. And look what he did. All right, so Aaron Jones is the same type of situation. He is a guy who also has that upside that Derrick Henry had. He put up 48 against Detroit week 2. Now he gets to go against Houston. His lowest point total of the season is 13. So he has about a 15-point floor here, and he has like a 40 to 50-point upside, a ridiculous upside. In GPP, I think you play him and just don't forget about it because his upside's way too high, and his price is only 7.2, which seems like a real discount. All right. Aaron Jones against Houston, absolutely love him. Locking him in. I mean, Houston struggles bad against running backs, and this is going to be a great situation here for Aaron Jones. All right, not only does Aaron Jones get exposure in the pass game, but he just carves out rushes. So I love him. All right, next running back that I'm going to go with, I'm going to go on the other side of this game, and he just seems a little too cheap, is David Johnson at 5'3". David Johnson at 5'3". He's at home in Houston. He gets about 15 or more carries per game. He got 19 carries against Tennessee in this last game, 57 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. He hasn't been able to really get it going too big on the ground. He had a solid week 1 for 19 against Kansas City. The best part is he's going to get you around 4 targets in the pass game. He's going to get you 15 plus carries. And against Green Bay, this is a great position to do it. Ronald Jones, who we also mentioned last week multiple times, got almost 30 DraftKings points against this Green Bay defense. They gave up 20 to Todd Gurley, and he only carried the ball like 15 times or something like that, less than 15 times. Alvin Kamara almost dropped a 50-piece against Green Bay. Love David Johnson. Would not be surprised to see Houston fall behind, and David Johnson actually get more targets than he's gotten all season in the pass game. So when they get in the red zone, David Johnson is a guy they definitely like to utilize, and I think David Johnson has a solid game here. And at 5'3", he just seems a little cheap in a game that I really, really like here. All right, next up. Wide receiver, I love Terry McLaurin, and now he gets that matchup against Dallas, that juicy matchup against Dallas. Now, the best thing is Washington tends to always fall behind. They tend to always fall behind, and the best thing is look, McLaurin's one of the highest targeted players in the NFL. Now he gets to go against Dallas, who did an okay job against Hopkins last week 6, but I would just look at that as an outlier. Look what Christian Kirk did. Okay, so receivers still smash Dallas. That doesn't mean that's stopping. Now, this is a Dallas defense that gave up 24 to Slayton, 40 to Beckham, and 40 to Lockett. Okay, Terry McLaurin has a 35-plus type of potential here in this matchup. Do I think he's going to get that? Probably not, but can I see 30? I would not be shocked to see 25 at least. 25 plus out of McLaurin here in this matchup, and at 5'8", I mean, he's too cheap. I'm going to have a ton of Terry McLaurin. All right, now I'm going to fill out the rest because the last wide receiver spot is a real thought, okay? And we're going to have to talk it over. So let's go ahead and do defense real quick. It's pretty easy for me. I'm going to go Washington. I had some faith in Andy Dalton being able to have a solid game yesterday. He ended up okay. He got over 10 DraftKings points, but he really struggled. Turned the ball over a few times. Yeah, so Washington's defense, Washington is a decent defense this year. They've actually been a solid, okay defense this year. Now they're going against Dallas without Dak Prescott. They just seem kind of unmotivated. I would not be, and Washington's at home. At the end of the day, Washington's at home facing a team with their backup quarterback at only 2.5. So Washington is a great defense. They're the defense I really love to save money with this week. All right. I've talked about it a lot. I love Washington's offense this week against Dallas, and Logan Thomas is going to be a part of that. Logan's a guy who gets targeted decently in this offense as well because they seem to always be down. And I mean, outside of McLaurin and him, there's really nobody else on this offense. Now, it does bother me. He's only gotten 4 targets the last 3 games, but the 8 targets, 9 targets, 7 targets the first 3 games of the year kind of tell me, like, look, expect him to kind of pop back up there. I'm expecting 8 or more targets here against Dallas. I love Logan Thomas going in this matchup. And, yeah, I'll have some exposure to him. And he's cheap at 3.5. Makes it work. All right, now in the flex position, last but not least, and then we're going to talk about the wide receiver, Todd Gurley. Now, as we all know, the Falcons got rid of Dan Quinn, and they ended up having a very solid game against Minnesota. The offense was humming on all cylinders. Julio Jones finally showed up. The defense showed up and did pretty solid, not too bad. Now, Todd Gurley, the bright spot here is for only the second time this season, he finally got over 20 carries in this offense. He did only get 9 points against Minnesota. Okay, only 9. But the bright spot is the amount of carries. We know they've been really careful with Todd Gurley the last few years because of a knee issue he dealt with. Now, this is a incredibly high total, almost 30 implied total for Vegas, for this team. Atlanta's team totals are 30. So you want exposure to this team. Todd Gurley's only 6K. He has already shown that he's still got that explosiveness at times like he did against Carolina week 5 when he got 28. Detroit's a run defense that has gave up almost 50 to Aaron Jones week 2. So they're not a run defense to fear. Atlanta, this game is really, really exciting to me, and I just really wanted to make sure I get a piece of it because both sides of the ball are interesting to me. Okay? And with that said, that last wide receiver spot, it is a tough decision. Let's talk about one guy and then we'll lock in the other. All right, we've got Marvin Jones and A.J. Green. All right, Marvin Jones and A.J. Green. You can even put Russell Gage and Randall Cobb in this discussion. All right, or Fitzgerald. There's a lot of good options right here. All right, so right here in this 4-2 up to 4-4. Fitzgerald, Cobb, A.J. Green, Gage, Marvin Jones. You could have a reason for any of them. Let's go Fitzgerald. At home in Arizona. Going to have a ton of Kyler Murray, so it's a good pairing. I would not be surprised if see Fitzgerald have a solid game as well alongside DeAndre Hopkins going against this horrible Seattle secondary, with Seattle putting up points in a hurry. All right, Seattle scores a ton, which is why it's such a great matchup for offenses against them because they score a ton, and then the offense against them, just their game script, they have to throw a lot. And this is a perfect situation. So Fitzgerald in an awesome game script, probably an incredibly high total. Randall Cobb going against Green Bay. I would not be surprised to see Green Bay get up. There's going to be a lot of passing in this game. Randall Cobb could going against his former team could end up being a solid option at only 4-3, and he's been getting some extra targets in that offense lately. A.J. Green, Marvin Jones, Russell Gage. Russell Gage is third between these guys, ranked-wise. A.J. Green. Now, in the beginning of the season, he was one of the highest targeted receivers in the league. I know that might be surprising, but he was one of the higher targeted guys. He just wasn't hauling many in. Now, this rapport with Burrow has to grow. But last week, he got, 9 targets, had a solid performance, almost 100 yards receiving last week. Now he gets to go against Cleveland, one of the worst secondaries in the league. They give up a lot of yards per pass. And Cleveland should be able to score against Cincinnati, no problem. So A.J. Green is a solid option. I think the game script fits for him. I think he's going to get those targets once again. The only question mark is he has been very up and down. He either does nothing or does okay. Marvin Jones. Now, in this first look lineup, I'm going to go Marvin Jones because I have Gurley and I'm running it back. But that's the sole reason. The game is also not the sole reason. The game is in a dome and going against one of the worst defenses in the league in Atlanta. They looked better against Minnesota, but I'm not believing the hype too much. The defense still needs more talent, plain and simple. Marvin Jones has yet to have his blow-up game, and we all know he has a few throughout the season. All right, we all know that. Now Atlanta's going to focus on trying to stop Galladay. Swift has popped out and really been going off. Atlanta's been okay versus the run this season, so this is really a spot for the pass game to excel. Galladay and Marvin Jones, I would expect Atlanta's secondary to pay more attention to Galladay. I would not be surprised at all to see Marvin Jones go off. I would not be surprised. That's why I'm putting him in the first look lineup, because at the end of the day, when it comes, let's look at it like this. Let's say one of our guys doesn't do well in this first look. Let's say Mclaren only gets 5, right? And that's a letdown. Who can save us? Let's say we need 20 or more points out of a receiver. Who do we feel more comfortable saving us in a position where we need him to come through, where we need that possibility of 20 or more? In my mind, it's Marvin Jones. A.J. Green, they have a bigger target tree in Cincinnati. T. Higgins has been doing better. Tyler Boyd's solid. Joe Mixon, they get involved. Marvin Jones, it's Galladay and Swift. Okay, yeah, Hawkinson, but it is what it is. And this matchup is fantastic. So I feel like Marvin Jones has that 20-plus upside, where A.J. Green has more safety, probably. Okay, in this match. I don't know, but they're almost equal. It took me a good little bit to figure out that last position. I'm going Marvin Jones. I know he's been horrible this year, so before y'all flood the comments telling me how bad Marvin Jones' pick is, I know he's been horrible, but this is DFS, okay? It does not matter what he's done so far. We know what he can do. We know that he already has a rapport with Matthew Stafford, and we know that that big game is going to come. And I want to have him when it does, and this matchup is there for it. And in this lineup, we have Gurley, so might as well run it back. And it's in a dome, where you always want offense. All right, and that's it. Kyler Murray, Aaron Jones, David Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins, Terry McLaurin, Marvin Jones, Logan Thomas, Todd Gurley, and Washington as the defense, where you're 100 away right here for Swift. If you believe that in the Swift hype and you believe he's going to continue to constantly ball, this matchup is decent against Atlanta. Like I said, they've done solid versus the run. The most they've given up versus the run has been. They gave up a good amount to Davis and Jones. In the pass game, they can give it up. So that's where Swift could end up excelling here. Okay, on the actual ground between the tackles, they're not giving it up a ton. But pass catching backs have been doing okay. So Swift could do okay. You will need 100 to get the Swift over David Johnson. And David Johnson is fine to me, but I just wanted to let you know that you could do that if you drop Gurley or something like that. All right. Thank you guys for joining me as always. That's the first look lineup. Good luck, man. Let's dominate week 7 like we've dominated the last 3 weeks. Let's get 4 wins in a row. GreenlightDFS.com. Join the squad. Go ahead and go grab the weekend package over at Greenlight DFS before Thursday Night Football, so you can be a part of Thursday Night Football. You can be a part of college football. You can be a part of Sunday's main slate, prime time, showdown, man. We play everything we can possibly get our hands on. So let's get this money, man. Thank you guys for joining me, and I'm out.